Welcome back to another episode of Pitcher Perfect Podcast. We are coming to you today. We are right smack in the middle of the World Series. The championship series just got set up. Texas Tech advanced to face on my Texas Longhorns, so it is an all-Texas finale. Holly was out there for the early rounds. Obviously, everyone has been tuning in, and this episode will go live after the World Series, but we hope you guys have been watching, especially the pitchers, because that's our favorite topic.
Yeah, there's been some really good pitching matchups. It's been fun to watch. I feel like it's kind of, the game has evolved in the last few years, not more than a few years, into really a hitter's game. And this series has been like some tight games, a lot of walk-offs. It's been super exciting. I would say that this is probably my best World Series, like that watching wise, that I think in a very long time. I can't think of a more exciting, even through like regionals and supers and into the World Series. I mean, just so many exciting good games. It's so good for our sport.
Yeah, I agree. I think regionals and supers had some really high scoring games, even if there were walk-offs and whatnot. But I feel like this World Series has been one of the most competitive as far as like talking about tightly contested games. Obviously, God, I think every game has probably been within 2, maybe 3 runs max.
Yeah.
And I know in the past that hasn't happened. I mean, even last year, I know like Texas pounced on Florida at some point. Obviously, OU put up big numbers against people in the past. And so this one definitely tightly contested. And oh my, just you mentioned the walk-offs. It's just been crazy. But that goes into today's topic.
It does. It does. We
Situational
are going to be
pitching
talking
is
about
so important.
pitching. Yes, pitching situationally is our topic today. But before we get to that, I have a couple questions for Kat. So we left off on the episode with Amanda Scarborough. One of the things we talked about was pet peeves. You had asked Amanda, and she said she asked you the same, and you said that you had a pitching pet peeve.
Yeah, so
What would
my
it be?
thing as a pitcher, and really now even more so as a coach and a commentator, my pitching pet peeve is when, not a pass ball, when you throw a wild pitch with a runner on base.
Yeah.
Because to me, that is a lack of focus and a lack of execution that comes from a lack of focus. You see the ball go 3 feet over the catcher's head. There's no need for that because you are giving a hitter an extra 60 feet. And so when you get mad that earned run scores, you put them in scoring position or 60 feet closer to scoring because of your own demise. And coming from a drop ball pitcher or more a vertical separation pitcher, if I was going to throw a ball in the dirt, my catcher knew the ball was coming in the dirt. Like, otherwise, I was not erring on the side of throwing it down the middle, but I was erring on the side of making sure it was not something that was going to get by her.
Yeah.
I think that is my hugest pet peeve because I just watch so many games change because a pitcher doesn't locate to where the catcher can catch it. And there's a big room outside of the 17 inches of the plate where the catcher can still handle your pitch.
Yeah.
But when we as pitchers allow hitters to advance an extra 60 feet on our own, it drives me wild.
So I think one of the things a lot of pitchers don't even think about or consider is, I mean, when you throw a wild pitch, you're turning a single into a double or maybe even a triple. There are so many more ways to score from second base or third base than there are from first. Not even to mention, I mean, the fact that now you're taking away the ability to get a double play on a ground ball. I mean, you really are changing the dynamic of that situation and the other team's ability to score on something really that is in your control, I think. We can't always control exactly where the ball goes, but missing, like you said, by 3 feet or completely in the wrong direction and crossing the catcher up, I mean, that's something that, whether it be a lack of focus or just a total lack of command, that is totally within your control, and you're completely changing the dynamic of that situation for the other team.
Well, it goes back to make them earn it, right? Free passes, you and I know as pitching coaches, there are walks that a hitter earns because you throw close enough to the zone, they don't bite. You sometimes try to get a chase pitch, they don't chase. So there are walks that are earned. Now, 4-pitch walks are not earned. That's given by the pitcher, in my opinion, and that can go into more of our situational topic. But like If they steal second, fine, but don't give them second. Don't give
Right.
them third, because now you're putting pressure on your defense to have to come up with a big play when really maybe, like you said, it should have been a double play, or it should be 2 outs and a runner on second, but because you just chucked it to the backstop, now it's 2 outs, runner at third, and now the pressure's on them to make sure like there's not a bobble, there's not an overthrow, like there's nothing that happens.
Yeah.
It just drives me wild because we work so hard as pitchers in making sure you have command and location that, and I'm not saying you're perfect. It's going to happen once in a while. I'm not going to pretend like I haven't done it myself. But the amount I see it when I'm commentating and coaching, it just to me is we're not the heightened focus is not there in those situations, or
Right.
you're not aware, like you're not aware of, oh, a pass ball can lead to this.
Yeah. The
And so I think,
repercussions.
yeah, that leads into kind of our topic of today, which, as pitchers, understanding situational pitching. And it's not so much of, locations with certain runners on base, but how can you pitch with runners on base and with certain hitters and whatnot that can help you out.
Yeah. So, getting into the topic of pitching situationally, I think a big thing, and this is what we say often in range class, is you control the location, you control the at bat, you control the game. So when we control where the ball goes or our spin on the pitches, and if you have complete control of the spin, we are a lot more likely to control the type of contact and the way that the ball comes off the hitter's bat. So now we're controlling ultimately where they're hitting it. And, offense has a plan, and too often I think pitchers don't have a plan. Offensively, you've got a runner on second, what's your job? You got a runner at first, what's your job? Runner at third, what is your job? For the most part, I think, most hitters going up there, they understand what the situation is and what they're trying to accomplish as far as where they're hitting the ball and the type of contact they're trying to make. But there's too many pitchers, I think, especially at the younger ages out there, that aren't factoring that in. And so now you've got a hitter with an approach and a plan, and a pitcher with no plan and no idea what she's really trying to do. And we talked about a little bit on the last episode with the listener submitted questions, about pitch calling and trusting, the pitch call. Your pitcher's more likely to trust the pitch call when she understands the intention behind it. So I think that's also a big thing, is when they understand the situation and they're thinking situationally, they understand, hopefully their coach is calling pitches accordingly. So now they're understanding what they're trying to get the batter to do. And that all goes back to just game awareness, communication, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, let's go to like the most simple situation. Runner at first, no outs. Most people were sack bunting at some point in time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what pitch do you want to throw when they sack bunt? Now, we asked 99% of people, they're going to say a rise ball. Not always, necessarily. As a drop ball pitcher, if you have a good drop ball, it is hard for them to stay down and with it. So you can go either way, but your catcher has to be ready if you're going with a drop ball. If it does short hopper, or if it is in the dirt, can she block and pick and throw?
Yeah.
But why? Why are we thinking rise ball? And if you're thinking rise ball, where are you thinking it? I'm thinking up and in at the hands, because now they have to move to get the barrel there, right? It's not
Right.
it's not just up and over the middle to where it can hit the barrel. Why rise? Because it's spinning backwards. A lot of times you'll get a pop up, and I think that's more at the younger ages. I know you and I probably still call them on occasion at the 18U level, and even in college they do. But a lot of hitters have worked on staying above the ball at that point and either pulling back or not going after it. But again, we saw some pop-up bunts in the World Series on rise balls, so it is still a very much used pitch. But I think the big thing is knowing that you can still throw a strike. They have to put the bunt down. Your defense knows it's coming. And so making sure that you're not trying to do too much. You're not trying to throw the rise ball a foot over their head.
Right.
That's
They
not
know
the
it's
point.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The point is to force them to pop up. So do we want it up in the zone? Yes. We don't want it belt high where they can easily put it down. But you're not trying to get them to chase up here like if you were swinging. And it's the same with the drop. You're trying to spin it and make it go down. Make them have to move with it. And I think that's the big thing, is make them move, whether their head or eyes move up or down, make them move with the pitch. If you don't have a rise or a drop, let's say you're in 10U, 12U right now, throw a high fastball. Work on that.
Right.
Throw a fastball right up here about chest, like, I don't want to say sternum, like, I guess maybe sternum, but right under their chin and force them to have to come up in it.
Yeah.
Like, you can, there's ways you can work around it, even without throwing a rise or a drop right now. And I will say, like, don't call a change up in a sack bunt situation. Just don't.
Easiest pitch to bunt.
Yeah.
And I would say actually another really good pitch that we call often is say if something is running away from the batter. So righty would be like a curveball for a right-handed batter, but I can't tell you, I mean, how many times, I know we've all seen it, how many times a batter reaches out and now they're trying to kind of give with the ball. So their bat head ends up doing this, and those are the balls that end up either you get a foul ball on it, right, down the first baseline, or even if it's a little higher in the zone, a pop-up foul on the first base side. I think that's a really common thing and something a lot of people don't think about is getting that ball, like maybe a ball off the plate and just letting them foul themselves to 2 strikes and then putting them away on that next pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, the one running away from hitters isn't bad too. In fact, when I had Randy Rupp at Texas State, we threw a lot of curveballs, but it was like you mentioned, it wasn't on the plate. We were trying to go off the plate to get them reaching and see if you
Right.
can get it to spin off, to first base if it's a right-handed hitter.
Yeah.
Take me through your thoughts. Runner at second, less than 2 outs. It's a scoring opportunity.
Runner at second, less than 2 outs. I think again, it's going to be are they trying to bunt? That kind of goes into play with what we were just talking about in a sack situation. And then if they're swinging away, I'm looking for something hit to the left side. Ultimately, they're trying to remove the runner, and they're trying to hit behind the runner. So I'm looking for like a ground ball to third, ground ball to short, trying to keep the ball in the infield, away from the gaps. Well, the balls that are going to hit in the gaps are the balls that you center up, most likely. So, keeping it in a good spot inside. I would love a ground ball to third base or shortstop with the runner on second base.
Yeah.
What
I
about
think
you?
that
What
I
what
think
was your
that's
game
similar.
plan?
That's similar. If I was going out, like if I'm personally when I was pitching, if I was going outside to right-handed hitters, I was trying to make sure it was almost half a ball to a ball off, so that way they can't barrel it up oppo or go oppo as much. And that's where sometimes as a pitcher you have to think about it like that. If I start off inside and I get 2 strikes and I'm going for, the kill pitch on the outside, that's a different story. But if they're fouling, and now I just need to show something on the outside, I'm not trying to show a strike where they can drive it to right field or through the 3-4 hole. And I think that's the other piece as a pitcher, knowing where's your defense slotted, right? So if your second baseman is shifted up the middle, you have to be really careful because now that 3-4 hole is a little bit bigger. So you can't hang one on the outer half and give up that single that now could be the winning run. And we can talk
Right.
about throwing to where you can pull to the right side in a game scoring situation because we all saw that last night.
Yeah.
But you want to be smart about it. And I think the other piece there is, again, if you are going to go up, like you said, you want a ground ball. I don't mind a fly ball to the infield, but if I'm going
True.
up, I'm going tight. I'm not going
Yeah.
over the plate. I'm going tight because that's where you get the mishits that stay in the infield,
Yeah.
shallow outfield where nobody can advance. But again, as my pet peeve stated, with a runner on second, I'm making sure that my catcher knows, hey, I got you in the air somewhere. We're not trying to let this ball get past our catcher.
Right.
But I think, and you can work laterally. You just have to stay tight on the corners.
Yeah.
I like jam. I really do like trying to jam them. And again, as a pitcher, you pay attention. Do they stay in their normal stance, or because they assume you're going to go inside, do they move off the plate? If they move off the plate, I go with them. Force
Exactly.
them to
That's
lay
a good
off it
point.
first, because a lot of times if they're sitting on that inner half and you go with them, they'll still chase that pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And if they move off too much, the outer half might now be open for
Yeah.
you to get a swing and miss, but we're still not
1000%.
going whole ball on the plate to chance a barrel up.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge. The other piece I think is just knowing your hitters. So who you're facing in that situation. Is it somebody that you've already struck out twice today? So can you go right at them and you don't have to necessarily put as much pressure on yourself to execute, I say execute, but just to get swing and misses or to make sure you're not, leaving something over the plate. Is it their best hitter, somebody who's hit well off of you? If it has, let's not let them beat you.
Yep. That
You
was one of
know,
the notes I made. Not letting a team's best hitter beat you.
yes. Unpopular opinion, but when Ella Parker walked it off, I said I would have her circled in red on my lineup card. And someone was like,
1000%.
you would have walked the game winning run into scoring position. I'm like,
Yeah.
if the person behind her has not hit today, yes.
Hmm.
I put Ella Parker on and I pitch to the next person. It may not work out, but Ella Parker would have been this one doesn't beat me. Because of how hot she's been. Now
Yeah.
me personally, lefty on lefty, and maybe she's, who knows, if she was 0 for or 1 for in her career versus me, different story. But
Right.
going into that World Series with what I knew, that she would not have been the person that would have beat them. And I think you saw that in the following game where Texas played OU. You
Yeah.
watch how Tegan Cavan pitched to her, and Ella Parker still got 2 hits. But they were on drop balls low and away that probably weren't in the zone, that she got her barrel and drove 2 balls up the middle. But they were with no one on, and it didn't hurt them. And so they kept trying to force, don't let her barrel it up. And if she wants to go fishing to get hits, let her go fishing to get hits. And occasionally, you're going to give up. I gave up a home run to Megan Gibson once, and I'm not lying to you when I tell you the drop ball was over her shoestrings. It was tight, it was low. I have no idea. She golfed it, basically. And the camera got me going, wow. And I still to this day will say wow, because if you see a replay of it, you're like, how? Like, barrel straight vertical down. Like,
That
just,
those types of situations, you almost just have to tip your cap, and you're like,
you
I gave
do.
you my best stuff. I put the ball where I was trying to put it, and it's a chess match, and you adjusted, and it
It
is what
really
it
is.
is.
But at the same time, like, don't let them beat you on a good pitch.
Yeah.
So I think that's part situational too, is pitchers understand what hitters have done against you in that game, but also historically.
Yeah.
Like, I will tell you, till I'm blue, Charlotte Morgan could hit me so well. And then when it came time that I had to face her in situations where it was make or break, like, I had to be careful. And I didn't care if she was 0 for 3 that day, because it pretty much usually meant she was due.
Right.
And so just know what people have done historically against you and in game. And if you aren't someone that's good at remembering that, talk to your pitching coach. Because if they're charting pitches, I keep our charts for the whole summer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I will go to
Same.
every tournament with every chart we have. And then right before Nationals, I'll feed out the people who aren't coming to Alliance Nationals. And
Yeah.
so I'll go with who we had. But, last year we had played Katie Stith's team already. So I had our charts for the 2 or 3 games we had played them.
Yep.
I had our charts for playing Marty. And we went back and looked at them, because if those pitchers threw in those games, here's what you did, here was successful, here what wasn't, here's where we need to make adjustments. But if you can't remember, definitely talk with your pitching coaches and find a way that you guys can keep track of what hitters have done against you, because that's part of situational pitching, is understanding who you're throwing against and what they have done off of you.
Yeah. And do you guys use HEL?
Yeah.
Or yeah, so Athletes Go
Yeah,
Live
athletes
for
go
those of you
live.
that aren't familiar, but it's a streaming platform for to record all the games. How often do you go back and look at game footage against certain teams before you're going to play them in a big situation?
Um, Probably, I should probably do it more than I actually do, but I mean, I was also spoiled last year with a staff that I knew really well, so I could just kind of go based on how we were throwing. I could go more their strengths than we needed to. But I will say, at Alliance, I did go back. We had played Marty in Colorado, so I went back to watch that game to make sure what I was seeing in Alliance was similar to what our game plan had been.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like to go back, especially with my pitchers, I can go back and I usually just record it on my phone and send it to them as like, here's what you did against this kid. Like,
Yeah.
I need you to visualize this pitch again. Or in the case of Cambry Krieger, a lot of times 0-2, we threw a drop outside and people took it. And I would go back and I'm like, but how many times do they swing at it when we throw it back to back? So they took the 0-2 knowing we probably weren't throwing close, but the 1-2, the pitch was almost the exact same and we got a swing and miss, or we got a weak ground ball, or so I go back and look at it sometimes to see not just what the hitters, who's hit and what pitch did we hit, but hey, what have we done well? And let's make sure we're circling those for us as pitchers too. But yeah, if your team uses Athlete Go Live, don't use it just to clip and put things on Twitter for college coaches to see. Like,
Right.
that is a tool for you to go back and really review your game. And
Yeah.
mine go back. Well, Krieger especially was one that she would start grading her performance, you know, and she gave me a clipboard that said striving for the A plus, because she was waiting for the day
I
she would
love
come
that.
off and tell me like I threw an A plus game, and you know, but you can go back and you could think, okay, maybe it's a B, and maybe your coach disagrees, and you can go back and watch and be like, okay, where are the pitches that maybe I don't remember or I blocked out that
Mhm.
he or she thinks brings my performance down, or even, hey, I'm too hard on myself. Let me go see what they saw, because I think that's huge.
I think 99 99% of times when people are really barreling up and hitting the ball out on pitchers, you go back and look at it and you look where the catcher's glove is, and typically, as they're about to catch it, those are
Hmm.
usually middle pitches. We say, Tony always says thigh high, waist high, bye bye. But I think as far as being too hard on yourself as a pitcher, that look, if they're hitting your best stuff out of the ballpark, that's one thing. But when you go back, if you've had a rough game and then you see, okay, these pitches were like pretty middle, the ones that they're driving, there's a lot of room for improvement there. And then it's just a story, and it's, you know what? Yeah, we're playing the best teams, and I left a ball over the plate, and she hit it out. I'm not a bad pitcher. I made a mistake in the middle of the box over the plate, but I think a lot of times pitchers, they don't think like that. It's like you have a bad game and it's like, yeah, but you left the ball over the middle. Like that's fixable. Let's make an adjustment next time.
100%. And I think you go watch the best pitchers, and occasionally they leave one over the middle. The big thing is if you don't leave them over the middle too often, a team can't sit and hunt for your mistakes.
Yeah.
So if you have film that proves you don't make the mistake as often, so that's again going back to like episode 1, talking about mastering location and command. If you have that, then somebody has to sit inside or outside, and a lot of times your middle will get taken because it shocks everyone that the ball just went down the middle.
Right.
Like, and I have some of those where I like turn my back as soon as I've caught the ball from the catcher. And I'm like, how did
Yeah.
we not swing it
I
that
just
much?
got away with that.
But when you miss middle to a certain percentage, now offenses are going to say, okay, we don't have to chase or sit a corner until 2 strikes, because 1 out of 3 pitches, or two pitches in the at bat will probably be over the heart of the plate that we can drive.
Right.
And
Right.
so I think as a pitcher, that's where you have to understand, again, it's situationally to a hitter. If they know you make mistakes, they're sitting and waiting for the mistake. If they know
Right.
you rarely make a mistake, now they have to sit on a pitch. And when you do make a mistake, I feel like it's less likely that it's going to get hammered.
Yeah.
Sometimes it still will get hammered. And the best of the best make mistakes, but I think you see them, I don't want to say get away with it, but not get hurt so much on those mistakes because their mistakes are minimal.
And I think that also, what does that do to the mindset of a batter? If you have control and you miss one pitch, and I think a hitter knows that, oh man, that was my chance. I'm not going to get another one like that. Like, and that's going to play into their confidence and them knowing that they just missed an opportunity. Like, a great hitter is going to know that, dang it, that was my pitch. Like, and then that's gonna, I'm not going to see another one like that. That's going to play into her confidence during the at bat.
Yeah, no, 100%. Another situation or situational thinking that pitchers need to know is, I think sometimes, especially at the young ages, pitchers don't pay attention to what shifts are happening defensively. And a lot of times, sometimes coaches call them in after the pitch has been called, which doesn't always help.
Yeah.
But you need to know, like, if your middles are pinched for whatever reason, like maybe it's a ground ball it's a double play situation, so they're pinched to make sure they get the double play.
Hmm.
Or there was one year we played a girl in Impact, and 5 times she had beaten us with not even hard grounders up the middle, but we weren't positioned to pinch the middle, that they just snuck through and it hurt us. And so finally, one time I called time and I said, do we know what we're doing? And they're like, yes, because she hits that grounder up the middle. So like my middles already knew. But then I look at my pictures, I'm like, okay, but you have to know now the holes are open.
Yeah.
And so that takes into account, you have to think, okay, if the 5-6 hole is open, or if third base is off the line to cover 5-6 hole, you have to be really intentful on the inside pitch. Because
Yeah.
if you leave it middle, it could be down the line past your third baseman.
Right.
Same thing. If you have a pull hitter and you leave something outside, if she's not covering the 5-6 hole, that's a single through the 5-6 hole. I a lot of times talked or paid attention to where my second baseman was, especially if I had a lefty up, because for me, drop balls in to a lefty went in the 3-4 hole more often than not. So if my second baseman was moved, I had to make sure that pitch wasn't something that could be hit, meaning probably a ball, not that I had to throw it where they swung and missed. And so that's where, as a pitcher, you also have to know where your middle infielders or your third baseman are. Most of the time, your first baseman's not moving a whole lot, and the ball straight down the line on a first baseman is a little less common, in my opinion. But knowing where your defense is, so you're pitching to where they are and not to where they aren't.
Yeah. When you talk about player positioning too, that puts a light bulb in my head about slappers, pitching to slappers, because obviously, I would say defenses in general probably move the most on slappers and they shift the most on slappers. So what is your approach if you've got your infield shifted, you've got your shortstop covering that 5-6, third base is in a little bit, and your infield shifted over for a slap situation? How does that play in to the locations that you're trying to hit? Are you trying to get the slapper to hit into your defense, or are you trying to get her to strike out on your best stuff? What's your approach?
Yeah, I think depends on the pitcher. Obviously, personally, I was trying to get them to strike out. Like, I'm running balls away from them with my curveball, drop ball, and then I can occasionally go in with the drop after I've set them up away. Depending on what your movement and break is, a lot of times you want to try to feed your defense, especially if your third baseman's right there and they're strong. Like, see if you can get an easy ground ball right at her, let her make the play. But in order to do that, you cannot, again, leave the whole ball over the outside corner, because whole
Yeah.
ball over the outside corner is where they go 5-6 hole, or they can be able to get enough of it to go up the middle.
Yeah.
So you're trying to split the corner and either make it run away or make it run down. Occasionally, I don't like running up and out because I feel like slappers keep their hands higher, and
Yeah.
every time we throw up and out, it ends up to be a line shot into the outfield, which is usually a single. But I do think you can go into slappers more than people do. I think if you treated a slapper, if you moved your left side, like you said, over and in to play the slapper, but if you kept your second baseman maybe in a little bit, but straight up, you can get, if you're a righty, curveballs into a lefty, drop balls into a lefty.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that easy ground ball on that side of the field. Now, if you have a runner on third, you're not trying to go that side of the field, obviously. We talked about that earlier. But if you're just trying to get them out, then you can jam slappers more than I think people do. But as a pitcher, you have to be okay getting in there. It's not, hey, I'm throwing middle in, like I'm throwing in. Because most of the time, especially early in the count, lefties don't want that pitch. They're looking for the pitch they can put to the left side of the field.
I asked some slappers, notable slappers, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or something, what's the toughest pitch to hit as a slapper? And basically every single one said they hate drops in. Tasha Watley was the first one I asked, and she was like, I hate a drop in. If I know somebody's going to throw me a drop in, I'm going to swing away. Like, I'm not going to try and slap that pitch. I think that slappers in general, look at what their job is. We talked about offensively, what's their approach based on what are they trying to execute, where are they trying to put the ball, right? So a slapper, their approach is basically to cause chaos on the field. And you give them the ability to do that when they're able to use the entire field. If you don't have control, if you're centering pitches up, if you're not working the corners, whether it be in or out, they're able really to get their barrel into position and create havoc because they're able to use all parts of the field now. And with their speed, that's exactly what they're trying to do. So being able to execute good spots, again, whether it be outside or inside, is just limiting the amount of the field that they're able to use. We don't ever want to let a hitter, slapper, hit the ball in the gaps, and you really be able to use the whole field. That is a non-negotiable. We want to limit the part of the field that they're able to use to be able to create that chaos. And the other component of that, if you can get them to hit the ball in the air, we don't have to play catch, and we don't have to worry about their speed. It totally negates their speed if we're able to get them to pop the ball up. Now, I think we put slappers into two categories. You're going to have touch slappers and then power slappers. So a touch slapper is going to have a little bit easier time with the up pitch because they've got like fast feet with a slow bat and they're just trying to tap the ball. So they're going to have an easier time getting on top of it. With a power slapper, I think you probably can get them on something up because their bat's coming, fast through the zone. They've got slow feet, but a fast bat. And their bat's coming so fast through the zone, they're going to have a harder time with that up pitch. They're not just trying to slap it, like you said, on that up and out, or they're just getting their barrel out there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because touch slappers are literally just trying to touch it. And that's where you see, and the hard ones are the ones that can do it all. Like you mentioned Natasha Watley. Natasha Watley and Caitlin Lowe could do all, bunt, touch slap, power slap, whatever you needed them to do, they could do it. But I feel like there's less of those these days. So, like, they are one category or the other. And I think that's the big thing. But I also think as soon as you own the inside corner against them, they have to space a little bit, especially if they know you're going there more than once in a bat, and now it opens up the outside for you. But
I would
again,
say,
it's knowing
go
the
ahead. Sorry.
situation. It's knowing the situation, because if they're up
Yeah,
with no one on, you can go both sides of the plate.
right.
But if they're up with a runner on third, I'm not going. Like I said, I'm not going drop in unless I'm showing it as a ball. I'm not showing it for a strike.
And now the other piece of that too is knowing your batter and does she try to bunt up the first baseline? So that's another piece that you got to kind of put into it when you are throwing them inside. Is this a batter that's going to try and take that inside pitch up the first baseline? Now, I don't think that that's used enough, to be honest with you. I don't think enough slappers do that. But, if you've got a batter that does that, that's just something to think about, and making sure it's not an inside pitch. Maybe a drop in is going to be better than something that's just that they're able to turn and take with them up the first baseline.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's like, there have been a number of times in the World Series, and it's always easy to second guess. But even the walk-off last night for Texas Tech against Oklahoma, like, bases loaded and an inside pitch, so a fly ball to right field scores the fastest runner Texas Tech has.
Right.
And in my opinion, that's the one place you didn't want the ball to go, was right side. And again, you had a base open. Like, you had a base open. Yes, Nyjah was coming to bat. Nyjah had hit 2 ground balls to the shortstop in that game.
Yeah.
And so now you have a double play opportunity. You have a force everywhere. There's just so many different things. And so I think, too, and some of it, I made a comment to someone. So there was a point in time in my career. We were at the World Series. We had a 1-run lead. We were facing Natasha Watley, who was hitting 500 on the year. She was 1 for 3 on the day, and her 2 outs had been strikeouts. But there's a runner on base, I think second, with 1 out. And my coach calls time. So in my head, I'm like, oh, we're going to walk her. That was not the plan. So we went at her. Tasha hits a single up the middle. The tying run scores. Tasha gets the second, obviously. I'm flustered. It's our first time at the World Series. I'm a sophomore. So the next hitter, who was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts, gets a single to right field. Game over. Tasha scores. She wins. And so I look at it as a coach and a hitter both, or a pitcher both. One, why are we calling time if we're not going to walk her? Like, just let the momentum of the game continue.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But 2, pitchers, don't be so stubborn to think walking someone shows weakness.
Yes, 1000%. I think I've said those exact words. It's not that you're afraid of them. It's just smart. It's playing smarter. It's not.
And
I
you
think
don't
that,
have to intentionally walk them either.
right.
You
Yes.
can intentionally walk, and if they swing at something out of the zone, or chase and barely foul off a rise ball, or chase one really high and get an infield pop-up while you're trying to avoid them, that's on them.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of situations where, as a pitcher, sometimes we want to prove that, like, oh, we don't need to walk her. But
Yeah.
it might just be the smartest thing. Not
Yeah,
necessarily.
it's smart.
It's not a knock. And I still, like, they talk about 2003 because UCLA double dipped us to go to the World Series, or to go to the championship series. I think if we had won that, there would have been a class at UCLA that didn't get a ring, or the first one, or something like that. And I look back, I'm like, I wonder what would have happened if we would have walked Natasha.
I think also when you talk about like intentionally walking somebody, that was what got to me about that Ella Parker at bat. They were 0-1 on her. Like, you're ahead. They were ahead on that pitch. So, I mean, there's lots of reasons not to let the best hitter beat you, but especially when you're ahead in the count. And now maybe that was just a mistake. Maybe she made a mistake on the pitch. I don't know what the pitch call was or what her mindset was. She might have just missed over the plate.
Yeah.
But, you're ahead in the count. So that is absolutely a time to try and get them to chase something out of the zone.
Yeah, and I think the other piece, and we've talked, and again, when we talk pitch calling, we'll talk about it a little bit, is like there are times for waste pitches, but every 0-2 count is not a waste pitch time.
Right.
But again, depending on the hitter, 0-1 might be a waste pitch time.
Yeah.
Like, see what they're going to swing at. See if they lunge or lean on a pitch. Obviously the goal is to be efficient and not throw 5-6 pitches every at bat. But at the same time, be strategic on when you're going to, I say waste. I don't like saying a waste pitch, but when you're really going to stretch the zone versus a little bit
Yes.
stretch the
Expand
zone.
or stretch. Yeah. It's a good way
And
to
I
put
think
it.
there have been a lot of teaching moments in this World Series as far as pitching goes, just because, even go back to the game tying home run. It was a changeup that was up here. That is why you don't leave changeups up here.
Right.
Because they can get absolutely shelled. If you
Yeah.
throw that in the dirt, what's hurt? She's a ball. She has a ball.
Right.
It's not a game. It's not a tie game now.
Yeah, a change up here, even something on your front foot if they're ahead and they're able just to kind of pepper it, they're gonna hit that over the shortstop or over the second baseman and
Yeah.
just kind of, drop something in front of the outfield.
Yeah. And again, like this is just going to show even the most elite pitchers. I mean, we're talking the Ella Parker home run, and we're talking Abby Dayton home run. You're talking about Carlin Pickens and Nyjah Kennedy, two of the best pitchers in the college game right now.
Right.
Like, so they make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. We'll probably be able to talk in a couple of weeks about AUSL pitchers and what mistakes have been made and how they cost them or didn't based on their performance. So we're not saying people don't make mistakes, but there are opportunities for you guys as pitchers to think about and then approach your own game that way. So
Yeah.
I think that's the big thing, is you should always be learning from other people and
Yeah.
other instances. So
Yeah, and I hope the big takeaway from this is what is the offense trying to do? And how am I able to negate that plan and ultimately get them to do what I want them to do? And a big, like I said in the beginning of this, but when you control the location and the spin, we are more likely than not going to be able to control the way that the batter hits it and the way that the contact comes off the bat. And it's just thinking about what kind of contact am I trying to generate? What kind of placement am I trying to, where am I trying to get them to hit it? Who do I want them to hit it to? And ultimately just controlling it. It's about controlling at-bats and controlling games, but it really does start with game awareness, understanding situations, understanding what we're trying to do, what they're trying to do, and then what's the best place to put the ball to make that happen for us. But it's not about just throwing the ball. And it's not just trying to throw the ball by people every single time. That's where I think a lot of pitchers get hurt, is they, like you said, is not being afraid to walk somebody in a situation that maybe that's the smartest thing. But we're not always trying to throw the ball by people every single time. Now, if we can get a key strikeout with runners on, heck yeah, like I want a strikeout. However, let's be realistic, and especially for our pitch to contact pitchers out there, which is the majority. Like, not everybody's going to be a Cat Osterman, right? Not everybody's going to have a really high swing and miss ratio or strikeout ratio. And if you know that about yourself, that your pitch to contact, what kind of contact am I trying to generate? And just being strategic and smart when you play the game.
yeah, I think that one takeaway would be like, you're in a circle, you're not on an island. So,
Yeah.
like, you have to take into account what's going on around you. And that's obviously defensive positioning, runners, hitters, communication with everybody. I think, too, like, we haven't even talked about pitchers' defense, but know where your defense is, because if the ball's back at you, who's covering where? And that's a whole nother topic we can get into, but one of my favorite defensive plays ever, bases were loaded, and Chelsea Spencer, we were playing pro ball, Chelsea Spencer looked at me and said, "Hey, ground ball to you, double play." And I was like, and she goes, "Trust me." And I like thought about it. The runner on first wasn't extremely fast. The hitter wasn't extremely fast. We had one out already. Sure enough, I get a weak ground ball. I throw it to her, double play, inning over. They don't score. But if I go home, we get out number 2, but bases are still loaded. But instead, because my shortstop knew where she was playing and I knew I could count on her, now we have a different situation. And that's situational awareness. And so as pitchers, we
Yeah.
have to have that. You are not on an island. You have to be paying attention to everything that's going on around you. And when you do, I honestly think it makes you smarter. It really does. It makes you smarter, and it makes you more aware of your pitching and what you're capable of doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask you real quick? I know we're kind of getting on time towards the end, but can we segue because you are where right now? And I would like to let our listeners hear a little bit about what's been going on for you this past week because I think it's
Yeah.
really cool and awesome for our sport. So, Kat, where are you? And can you tell us a little bit about what's been going on with you the last week?
Yeah, I've been in Chicago for the last week. AUSL has spring training up here, and so all four teams came into Chicago to train. We've all been taking rotations, practicing in the dome on the field. Started some live situations, probably our second practice. So our girls had to come in ready to go, ready to pitch, ready to hit. And our season kicks off this coming weekend, actually, on the 7th, or will be the first games. The Bandits and the Talons will stay in Chicago, while the Blaze and my Volts will go to Wichita to kick off. But yeah, it's been fun. The best of the best are up here training, and as the general manager, I've been making sure meetings are going well and everyone has what we need and just the flow. Two of my staff members are on staff at Texas, so I was having to be a little bit of a helping hand, coaching a little bit through BP one day.
Oh gosh, how are you
So
feeling?
I think my soreness finally is done today, but that was 3 days ago that I threw BP. So
More
the oldness
importantly,
of the body.
when you throw BP, are you trying to strike people out or are you trying to just give them reps?
No, we're just giving them reps. So basically, I'm left-handed. So just giving them a look at a lefty, and I told Kelly if we need it, I can do it. I can't do it more than once every like 3, maybe 4 days. But so gave them a little lefty look, and it's just all fastballs, trying to let them barrel it up. I do try to go a little bit in and a little bit out, not just fatties, but
Yeah.
so. But no, nothing spinning and not trying to strike them out. I wish I could do that, but I can't spin it very well when I'm throwing BP. So,
So when you're
but
throwing BP, even though you're just throwing fastballs, is that competitive fire still kind of there a little bit? Like start to get away from you? Like, oh wait, I'm not trying to strike him out.
nah. When I coached college, it did sometimes. So if they got really happy about hitting balls out, I would like chuck an off-speed pitch in there to make them, just keep in check. But no, this group, I obviously want to see them hit balls out at a high rate against opponents. So if it means I have to keep throwing and getting hit, I will keep getting hit. So there were no competitive juices. I was having just fun throwing strikes and trying to make sure I got them good pitches. Because there's usually one or two hitters that I just struggle throwing a strike to for whatever reason on any given day. It can be anybody. And but yeah, we had fun. It's been a fun week. We scrimmaged today, and then the team will take off on Thursday down to Wichita.
That's so exciting. Exciting
Yeah.
stuff, you guys. If you don't aren't already in tune with all the stuff that's going on with AUSL, starting with MLB and that whole situation going on. I
Yeah,
mean,
we
it's
can
so
we
much
can do a
exciting
whole
stuff.
AUSL segment next.
Yes. Yeah, maybe we can get some players on here.
Yeah,
That would
I'll
be
work on
fun.
that.
All right,
I'll
let's
work on
do
that.
that. All
All
right.
right. Well, this is another episode of the Pitcher Perfect podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully, you took away some nuggets about situational pitching and how to think about your craft when runners are on, where your defense is at. And we look forward to pro softball starting, and hopefully you tune in too. And we will work on getting some guests for next time.
Definitely. Bye, guys.